I can confirm the meeting is now open and being recorded. The first item on the agenda is to elect the chair of this Code of Conduct panel. Could I ask if there are any nominations for chair for this meeting?
Great, thanks. Adrian Hafji, happy to propose Nick Allen.
Councillor Neil seconded.
There being no further nominations, Councillor Allen is confirmed as chair, and I'll pass over to our chair for the meeting.
Thank you, Jamie. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Code of Conduct panel. I am Councillor Allen, chair of the panel this morning to consider a complaint against a borough councillor. Before we discuss the complaint, I am going to exercise my discretion as chair to amend the order of business to take item 5 first, to cover the representations for the Deputy Monitoring Officer and or the subject member as to whether any part of the hearing should be held in private first. So under agenda item 5, in order to determine whether we should hold the hearing in open or in closed session, the panel will first ask the Deputy Monitoring Officer and subject member whether they wish to make any representations. Please could our clerk advise on how we do this? John?
So I believe there will be representations on this, Chair. So my recommendation would be that myself, the legal advisor, the panel, the Deputy Monitoring Officer and the subject member leave to go to a breakout room, and we can discuss this in private if you'd be happy to adjourn.
Yes, I'm happy to adjourn. Okay, thank you all for that, for bearing with us during that pause. We have decided that the panel shall be held in open session, because basically there is, for openness and transparency purposes, it's probably best to do so. And we do not believe there is any information which will be revealed during the open session, which would cause the panel to hold the session in public, in private. So we will now continue with the agenda item as published. First of all, can I confirm whether have there been any apologies for absence or substitute members? Hang on.
I confirm there has not been, Chair.
Thank you. In which case, please can I ask each panel member to introduce themselves before we begin? Just remembering that we have to turn our microphones off between each one. Hold on a second. In that case, I'll Councillor Hafferty first, please.
Councillor Adrian Hafferty.
Councillor Catherine Neal.
Diana Anderson.
Heather Quillish, independent person.
Helen Brewster, Deputy Monitoring Officer and Investigating Officer for the purposes of today.
Councillor Jodie Watts.
Sanjay Prasher, Legal Advisor to the panel.
Jamie Beardsmore, Clerk to the panel.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 3 on the agenda is the standard item relating to declarations of interest. Would members of the panel please confirm they have no disclosable pecuniary or affected interest in the application before us this afternoon?
No, none.
None.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Item 4 sets out the procedure that must be followed for this hearing, and this is only to note. We will now move on to the hearing itself with the Deputy Monitoring Officer and Investigating Officer, Mrs. Helen Brewster. Miss Helen Brewster, please introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. So the report that I have prepared investigates a complaint by Mr. Carrington against Councillor Jodie Watts of Bracknell Forest Borough Council, alleging a breach of the Council's Code of Conduct for Members. The complaint, which was filed on the 12th of July this year, concerns the improper disclosure of confidential medical information about Mr. Carrington by Councillor Watts on a public Facebook page. Mr. Carrington provided evidence, including screenshots, to support his claim. The disclosure was made in a public comment on a Facebook page managed by a third-party councillor, and this information could be shared to other public groups, increasing its visibility. Although Councillor Watts initially defended her actions of the posting within the Facebook threads, she later deleted the part of the comment which included the private medical information, and several participants in the thread did call her out on her posting before she retracted it. When I receive a complaint, in my role as Deputy Monitoring Officer, I am bound to make one of 3 decisions. I either take no further action, I refer the matter for informal resolution, or I refer for investigation. And to assist in making my decision, I contact both parties for further information concerning the allegation. When I initially wrote to the councillor, she recognised that Mr. Carrington was correct in asserting that she should apologise for discussing his diagnosis without permission, despite any previous public mentions of it that he may have made himself. This therefore obviated the need to appoint an independent investigator to investigate the allegation further, as the breach was admitted. And then on the 15th of August this year, Councillor Watts acknowledged my letter, which confirmed that there had been a breach of the Code of Conduct and that a panel hearing would determine the appropriate sanction due to the seriousness of the breach. Private medical information is special category data and therefore requires a higher level of protection. that concludes a summary of my report.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Watts, are there any questions you wish to ask of the investigating officer?
No.
Thank you. Do the panel members wish to ask any members of the investigating officer? I'll start with on my left.
Yeah, just one. You mentioned that Councillor Watts acknowledged there was that she'd sort of had a breach. There's a breach here. Are you aware if there's been any apology relating to that?
Not per se, though Councillor Watts acknowledges that she should make an apology.
Councillor Neil.
No further questions. Thank you, Chair.
Diana Anderson, the independent person.
Thank you. Good morning. I wondered if you can tell me, do councillors have training in GDPR?
Yes, they do. They are offered a specific course that I think is provided by an outside provider, which is a specialist firm of lawyers that deals with local government law, and they do have GDPR training, which is offered to them.
Thank you. As a follow-up, would you know if there's any sort of training on the use of social media for councillors?
Again, I believe that there is, but I may have to defer to my Democratic Services colleagues to confirm that.
So my understanding would be there is some training offered by our comms team, albeit it is not compulsory. But yes, there is some social media training offered.
If the panel members are done, we will now move on to the subject member's case. Councillor Watts, can you please present your case?
Yes. So the only reason I brought this particular diagnosis up was because I was referring to some emails that the complaint Mr. Cunningham had mentioned. Sorry, losing my train of thought here. Right, the only reason I mentioned it is because he'd written me some emails about a diagnosis, which I replied to, and I was speaking in my defence because he was telling some untruths about me and I was defending myself. The only reason I mentioned the specific diagnosis was because I had seen it mentioned at a public forum. I never would have disclosed it otherwise. And that's really all I have to say about it. And I do apologise, and it certainly won't happen again.
Okay, thank you very much. Does the Deputy Monitor Officer have any questions for the subject member?
I do not, thank you.
Okay. Panel members, starting with Councillor Hafferty.
Yeah, similar to the questions to the Deputy Monitoring Officer. Apology, has an apology been given already on any of the forums or anything like that?
Not in this instance, no, I don't believe so.
Councillor Neil.
No further questions. Thank you.
Diana Anderson.
Thank you. Good morning. Is it normal practice for councillors to engage in debate in an open public forum like this?
I don't know quite how to answer that because not all of us are on social media, and this was on a different page, and I was trying to debate the certain issues about immigration, and so I entered into a debate, and then Mr. Cunningham then sort of jumped in, basically invalidating what I was saying. So then it kind of fell into chaos there. Many councillors are active on Facebook, but not all of them. I couldn't speak for everybody though. That's all I have to add to that.
So have you had specific training in this area of social media?
We've had some, yes, and basically the word is use common sense. Don't say something that can be taken out of context. So yeah, I'm obviously I'm still learning, but I think I've got there now, and I have blocked Mr. Cunningham and my personal and professional social media pages, so I am unlikely to get into it with him again.
If there's no further questions, in which case we'll move on to the next point of the proceedings. So at this point of the proceedings, I will ask the investigating officer and subject member to sum up. I would ask that you do not introduce any new information or evidence at this stage. Ms. Brewster, please sum up the complaint.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I really have nothing further to add to my earlier missives about this. You know, it's the breach has been admitted. It'll just be a question of deciding upon the appropriate sanction.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Watts.
Nothing to add, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, right. So the subject member and investigating officer are in agreement that there has been a breach of the Code of Conduct. This panel has been brought to determine which sanctions, if any, should be applied to the subject member. To remind members that the possible sanctions are listed on page 8 of the agenda. I will now invite the Deputy Monitoring Officer, subject member and independent person in that order to make their representations as to whether or not any sanctions should be applied, and if so, what form they should take.
Thank you. So, as we know, a councillor made a public comment on Facebook that cited a resident's medical condition. That kind of remark, even if not detailed, crosses a line. Health information is private. Most people expect their medical issues will not be discussed publicly, and especially not by somebody in a position of authority. When a councillor shares something so personal in a public forum, it can cause real distress, and it can also make people feel unsafe about approaching their elected representatives in the future. Councillors are trusted to act with respect and care. They represent the council and its constituents, and their words do carry weight. So the breach deserves, I think, a meaningful sanction, but the goal isn't just to reprimand, it is to make sure the councillor understands the impact of their actions and to reassure the public that the council takes these matters seriously. We need to show that respect, privacy and accountability are non-negotiable, and that is how we maintain trust in local democracy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say this is about a potential diagnosis, not one that has actually happened. Mr. Cunningham was asking me how to go about getting one. Just wanted to correct that, sorry.
Understood. So in which case it's your turn actually to make comment on whether or what sanctions should be applied, and if so, what form they should take.
Well, I think a public apology would be very good.
Thank you very much. And the independent person, Heather Quillish, would you like to comment, please?
Yes, good morning again. The complaint was shared with me by the Deputy Monitoring Officer when it was received. And in my opinion, aside the GDPR connotations, it was disclosure of very personal information in a very public setting. And therefore, without doubt, I believed it had breached the code. With regard to sanctions, obviously, I'm not a member of the council, so I'm unaware as to where each of the sanctions would fit in terms of the seriousness of any breach. But in my view, I think I would be most certainly looking for a written apology to the complainant in an open letter. And disappointingly, it's been stated that training has already been received, because my other recommendation would have been that adequate training is provided. If it has been, then maybe a good refresher course is due. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Having heard the representations of the independent person, subject member and the deputy monitoring officer on the application of sanctions, I'm adjourning the panel adjourning the meeting so that the panel can deliberate in private. The panel will be joined by the legal advisor and the clerk to assist on any points of law or procedural matters, but they will not take part in the decision making. The panel will leave the room. All other parties can wait here or in the reception area until the meeting is reconvened. Thank you. Well, welcome back again. I can confirm that the panel have reached a decision. The panel has decided that the subject member has failed to comply with the Code of Conduct. The reason for the decision are that Councillor Watts has admitted to the breach of the Code of Conduct and has already apologised for this. And also, we're taking into account the independent members' recommendations on the sanctions. Based on this decision, the panel has decided to impose the following sanctions on the subject member, and we have agreed that the panel instruct the Deputy Monitoring Officer to arrange appropriate training. That the panel requires the councillor to issue a written apology to the complainant in an open letter, and that the panel refer the matter to the party whip in order that the political group may consider what actions to be taken under its own procedures. That brings us to the conclusion of today's Code of Conduct panel. Thank you for all those who attended.